Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
How to get rid of writer's block. But before we jump into today's very exciting episode, I've got a question for you. Why do people come to the internet? Is it to watch cat videos, or is it to scroll through Facebook, or is it to watch latest latest thing on TikTok? You see people coming to the internet to get information. And if they're getting this information from your business, then they get to know you, like you, and trust you. And people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. But for you to constantly create this trust, which takes time, by the way, content is the key to connective marketing. But obviously, you have to show up with useful content for your audience. It has to entertain, it has to inform, it has to intrigue for you to actually build this real connection. How do you keep up? Right? How do you keep up with this content monster that the internet has become? You know, my thumbs actually have biceps now from all the scrolling, from morning till noon, scrolling. How do you create content that stops people from scrolling in order for them to then create that relationship with you without burning out and developing what's called writer's block? Now, let me take you back in time. Which TV show actually reminds you of your childhood? Do you remember your childhood mornings? Maybe you're drinking milk, eating cookies, and watching cartoons, because we only had Saturdays when cartoons would come up in the morning, and all the other time, Cartoon Network would start off at 3 p.m. So, would come back from school and just sit down cross-legged and wait for content to start pouring through the TV screen. And do you know what starts with the letter C? Okay, good enough for me. Not only for me and for you, but this was also the main character of a TV show that you probably were watching. And do you know what I'm talking about here? Cookie. Cookie starts with C. Are you already recognizing this song? All right. So C, content, starts with C as well. But moreover, do you know who likes it more than anyone in this world? And we're talking about this blue, chubby, fairy character we all watched when we were kids, and sometimes nowadays with my own kids. That's the Cookie Monster. The internet has become the Cookie Monster. All right. And the Cookie Monster was this puppet on the long-running TV show Sesame Street, and I just started from there because he would eat just about anything. All right, the Cookie Monster was not just eating cookies; he often consumes almost everything from apples, pie, lettuce, hubcaps, danishes, donuts, lettuce, bananas, anything that, even some stuff that was not edible. But cookies were his number one choice, and chocolate chip cookies are his favorite kind. Oatmeal, second favorite. Okay, and all of this was just designed to help kids not be afraid of, monsters, and all those things that he does. Me want cookie, me eat cookie. Just simply cookies. Nom 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 nom. All this said through a funny mouth full of food, and as you can see from these phrases, he didn't speak English correctly. And why is that the case? The authors and the creators wanted to help children feel confident with the concept of the monster, because the fear of monsters is common among young children, and these characters help to diffuse that fear. This is exactly what your content is doing for people on the internet right now. We've got this vast amount of information that we don't know what to do with. And if you really want to know and understand the depth of how much information is out there, Google has only indexed 4% of the available content on the internet. Now, can you imagine? You can't even scroll through or past page one. Can you imagine what else is out there? Okay. So as a coach or consultant, we need to be creating for and relating to our audience, and that's the only way we can actually nurture our customers so that they can get to know, like, and trust us. And like I mentioned earlier on, your content should first and foremost be useful to this audience, just so they can make sense of the internet or the vast sea of information that's around them. So your content should then inform, entertain, and intrigue, which then helps build that connection that we're talking about, which turns strangers into friends and friends into loyal customers. But remember that the work doesn't end when you hit post, either on your podcast or on your blog. This is when it actually begins, because the point of your content should be to actually start conversations with your audience, all right? For you to get more calls, to increase website traffic, for you to bring people to the door so you can actually then converse with them and see if you can help them solve their problems, all right? As a entrepreneur, coach, or consultant, marketing is just one aspect of running a successful business. You're hiring new staff, you maybe managing them and balancing books, driving growth, and a whole lot more other hats that we're wearing there. And it feels like a constant balancing act where we're pulled in multiple different directions all at once. And at the end of the day, your real goal as a coach, consultant, or small business owner there is to just help your clients. You just want to help them, all right? Whatever we are putting out there, our consulting, our training, our information, our expertise, our paid speaking, endeavors, it's all to deliver on a promise that we help our customers be, do, and have a happy existence. That's all. And you don't want to spend as much time as possible, and you don't want to spend all this time, trying to convince people to buy from you. You want to spend as much time as possible changing people's lives and solving people's problems. You don't want to spend countless hours each week trying to navigate the complex world of this whole online marketing or the internet space. And you certainly don't want to spend yet another minute on the phone having to beg people to hire your services. Unfortunately, you don't have to. If you create good content that entertains, informs, and is intriguing, you will be able to build real connection. All right. So by you putting content out there, it's all about relationship building. And obviously, for that to happen, that content has to be consistent. And there's so many competing, factors for our attention, and our own attention spans are even shorter than they used to be. And one of the worst things that you can do as a marketer is create radio silence, even for just a few days. We put out this podcast every single day, and I'm hoping that every time that you're notified that we've got a new podcast, it's a sign to tell you that we are still here to help you make sense of the world around you. Every time that you receive an email from us, it's a way for us to nudge you and let you know that, hey, we're still here to encourage your dreams. We're still here to justify your failures, and we're still here to create for and relate to you in a way that makes sense of the world around you. But as a coach or consultant or small business owner, you've faced what is called writer's block. And I kid you not, this has happened to the best of us. It's not necessarily about you writing content or putting it out there, even showing up on a podcast like this, not knowing what to say next. All right. Half of the time, I just look at a topic and I'm like, what has happened in my life that I can talk about, which can make me relate to, coaches and consultants out there. So, what happens when you know you need to create some content, but you're sitting there and you're wrecking your brain and you're striving to come up with something that you haven't thought of before, while you're staring at a blank screen or just your microphone? Writer's block can hit all of us if we let it. But I've got good news, okay? There are a lot of ways that you can avoid this entirely, okay? The one thing that happens is fear. We're always afraid. Are we doing the right thing? Are we saying the right information? But we already have this expertise inside of us. We already have the know-how. All our clients are looking for is somebody who can make sense of the world around them. You, as a coach or consultant, you've gone through these things, or you're helping other people go through most of these things. This is one way that I go to, especially when I'm experiencing writer's block. And the reason why I actually talk about this today is because yesterday I was scratching and thinking, how else can I put out an episode? Because these episodes have to fly out every single day. So you should ask yourself, what are you embarrassed and struggling with right now? And what are you doing about it? Because every time you're struggling with anything, anytime you are scratching your head, trying to figure out something, guess what? That is content in and of itself. How you go through that and what solution you then uncover, or how you find help, or the kind of help that you find, because 9 times out of 10 somebody somewhere is also going through that very same problem. Okay, so you can end this paralysis and actually follow the advice that I'm going to be giving you in this podcast, and you can never again panic when you have to create a video, write an article, a blog post, a website page, or even a podcast like this. All right, because at the end of the day, you don't want to let this happen to you. You don't want your clients to start scratching their heads and leaving them hanging because they don't know what to do next, simply because you have been helping them through making sense of the world around them. So how do you blast through this blockage, and how do you beat writer's block or speaker's block in your day-to-day life? The one thing that I grew up knowing, no matter what, is prevention is better than cure. And prevention is the best method, and planning is key. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you can stop writer's block as it happens by being very proactive about it, okay? And at the end of the day, we are all going to run out of content, and we are all going to have that, inauthentic voice in our head, or imposter syndrome, thinking, my God, am I the right person to be delivering this information? Let me tell you something. You are more than equipped, because your life story and your life experience has only been experienced by you, through your eyes, through your senses, and only you can tell that story, and somebody is waiting for that transformation to come from you. But there are ways, things that you can do to alleviate going through writer's block, and you can use technology to your advantage, where you can maybe just simply go onto Google, find out what other people are doing and writing about in your audience already, and that can instantly give you ideas, because there's no way we are all going to agree on certain ways or transformations. And if somebody has written a blog post and somehow you think you can elaborate on it, or you can expand on it, or you completely disagree with it, voila, that is actually content for you. And one thing that I encourage you to do, so I'm just going to give you a rundown of some of the things just in case we run out of tape. You want to carry a notepad or a recording device with you to capture some moments of inspiration. Have you ever noticed when you're driving and an idea just pops into your head and you don't know what to do or whatnot? So this is what I do when an idea pops in. I literally call Siri and I'm like, hey Siri, call Prosper. So I call my number and it goes to voicemail. All right. And then I speak into my voicemail. So it pays to have a good voicemail, which doesn't just ask you to say your word and then we'll convert it to text. So when I'm finished with the drive, I come back and I listen to my voicemails, and then that idea is still there and it's fresh and it's making sense. All right. So you maybe carry a notepad. You obviously can't carry a notepad when you're driving or a recording device. I use my voicemail for that, and just devise a writing schedule and stick to it religiously. All right. So this is what happens, especially with me. At 12 p.m. every single day, a podcast comes through. All right. So I would have scheduled it maybe for the day before. Now, this is what then prompts me when Spotify notifies me that an episode has been published. That means I've got an empty slot that needs to be filled up, which means I have to replace that scheduled podcast. All right. So I've devised a podcasting schedule, which actually allows me to be prompted if I'm away or during a holiday and it's 12 p.m. strikes. My brain starts foraging. What am I supposed to be doing now? Where am I supposed to be? And that automatically gets the juices flowing in my head about stuff that I need to do. Thirdly, you want to watch a film and focus your attention on something else, okay? Because half of the time we have an ego that actually hides our genius, and this is something that is you're probably going to turn off right now, but our ego is always trying to protect us, because every time we go into our heart or into our creative space, the ego thinks it no longer is needed and it doesn't want that. And when the ego thinks it's no longer needed, it feels like death. Nobody wants to experience death. So have you ever noticed that every time you maybe close your eyes and you just maybe trying to get ideas to come, the phone rings or the kids cry or the dog barks outside, and your brain automatically goes to, wait, we need to figure this out. We need to sort this out. Just ignore that sound, unless it's your baby who's burning themselves. Then obviously you need to attend to that. But you also, once you've structured your writing schedule or your podcast schedule, maybe you put your kids to sleep or you get them to watch Coco Melon in the TV room, which gives you time to create. Okay. So at the end of the day, this is one thing that I normally do. And you want to structure a list, maybe of topics that you want to attack. And once you've got that list going, guess what? You never run out of things to speak about. And there's one thing that I also do using technology. It's putting Google alerts out there. All right. If you haven't heard of these can become a game changer. So Google will actually send you content via email around the subjects or keywords that you are interested in. So you want to pick a certain amount of keywords, maybe around your industry or certain things that you do. And whenever a piece of content shows up on the internet, Google sends you an email about that. How about that as a game changer? Now, listen, if you are maybe talking about digital marketing or coaching, consulting, or anything like that, pick up these keywords and then you select what type of alerts that you want. Maybe do you want news or do you want video, etc.? And how often do you want them? All right. So sometimes you can choose that you want them immediately as they happen, or you want them as a once a day or maybe once a week. And it's usually the latest content that is sent directly to your inbox. Now you've got Google working for you. How about those apples, man? The Cookie Monster actually bringing you food. All right. Now this is a total game changer in and of itself. You know how many pieces of content are going on the internet at any given moment? There's a graphic, that shows how many pieces of content being put on the internet as we speak, and it's like maybe every 3 seconds, every 1 second, we've got 50,000 YouTube videos that go up. Every 1 second, we've got 20 million blog posts that are put up there. I mean, you can go and check this out on your own. I didn't have time to Google it before we came on the show. So at the end of the day, you now have Google listening to the internet for you, so you can actually be, do, and have a happier existence without foraging for content. And when you set this alerts, it keeps you on the top of industry news. And the more you're aware of what's happening in the industry, the more ideas you now have that can help you connect with current events. And I actually recommend setting them up for keywords in your industry, for specific industry leaders or companies or organizations that are actually doing well. And also, you want to maybe list Google alerts for maybe your local news and related subjects. And sometimes you just delete the alerts if they don't have anything to do with what you want to do or something to read. But now you've got a consistent flow of never ending new bits of content that you can actually start utilizing. You know what I mean? And you can now utilize and develop content ideas of your own. All right. And once you start doing that, you are now, you now have the pulse of what's happening in your industry. You actually can now network with people that are, in your industry as well. Get to know a lot of people, because you never know what Sally knows or what Google alerts she gets, and then you now start getting pings and information from more people, and especially people that are in your industry. They are excellent sources of inspiration and maybe some more information of things that you may not have known that are happening. And the more comfortable they are with you, the more they'll be willing to give you these ideas and share these ideas of what's working for them and what it is that they're talking about. And when you go back and experiment on these, you might even have an opportunity to then write a blog post. Oh, this is even more important. When you network with a lot of people and you get ideas from them, guess what then you can do? You can actually decide to collaborate with them, and you then utilize their expertise and put content out there based on what it is that they've spoken about. Or you can co-host a website, a blog post, a podcast together. You can co-write a blog post, or they can guest post on your blog. All right, because people love to get to know certain ideas and people behind brands. So all you can do is just feature them and let people get an insider perspective of maybe your company or their company. And what then happens is you borrow their audience, because they are already being followed by certain people that might not have had any idea of who you are. And once you interview people or you get them to guest blog on your post, that audience flows onto you. I've gotten to know a lot of people once they were featured by regular people that I follow, and I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't known about this guy. Or maybe you got to know about this podcast through a feature or collaboration that we did with somebody in the past. So when you network with other people or co-workers or people in your industry, you often get them to become more involved in some of your marketing projects. And obviously, the friendlier you are, the more comfortable they will be to step outside their own comfort zone and actually help you with your marketing projects. And you now leverage that which they've created for themselves into your own business, so that you can actually have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. And speaking of having people, that you can leverage off of, you can ask your friends outside of work, you can ask your followers, and you can also just go in and just go into groups and find out what people are talking about. So your close friends would want to help you. They also have networks outside of them that they have information that you might not be privy to. So if you're feeling stuck, and ask them if they have any questions about your industry and what they think is interesting about the kind of work that you do, and they'll be happy to jump in with insights that can actually help you. The easiest way to feel happy and fulfilled is to actually contribute to others. So when you then create frequently asked questions based on people that don't quite know what you do, guess what? You're opening up yourself to more content and creating ways for people to actually find you when they're searching for you. And you can do this with your followers as well, because people love it when you ask them questions and they feel like they're part of the process, because people will always support anything that they helped to build. Okay, so bring in your fans, ask them questions, get them to give you testimonials or reviews, your followers or your customers. Get them into the action of it all, and then straight out ask them what they would want to see in your posts, in your tutorials, in your content, because people love being featured. And you can run maybe social media contests, or campaigns to have them tell their stories. It's much more fun for them to feel special, and it's a free recommendation on your behalf, because when other people can speak on our behalf, it is actual social proof that will help us market our businesses and really build our credibility. So the more you get stuck in your own head, all right, the more you will not find content. But if you notice what I'm talking about here, you can literally just go to other people and ask them to help you out. So if you go out and create for and relate to other people would be more than happy to help you out, discover more content so you can add value. Okay. And one other thing is, don't be afraid to update content that you've already put out there. All right. Because, things change quickly these days. Depending on your industry, you might be able to revisit a piece of content that you wrote about a month ago or 2 months ago. And you can always freshen it up with new insights and new updates. Or if you've changed your mind on a particular topic, you can literally argue with yourself based on a piece of content that you wrote. And I think I'll be doing that with a few podcasts moving forward. As long as you've got something of value to add or change, you can always revisit any concept. Your mind is not set in stone. The internet is not set in stone, although the internet doesn't forget. But just be sure to make it different enough so that it helps your end users see different perspectives and actually notice your growth. Okay, because maybe when you started, like myself, when I started digital marketing, I hated ads. First of all, because I didn't understand them, and second of all, I actually didn't have money to pay for ads, so I naturally would hate them because I didn't understand them and I didn't know all about them. So I constantly talked about organic up until I had really outdone my immediate circles, and then I started learning about ads, and now I realize that, oh my god, you can actually leverage money, and if you do it well, you can actually create a business that's profitable and enjoyable. So maybe I can go back to all the posts that I was talking about ads, and maybe I was talking bad about them, and I can just recorrect my path there and revisit that concept. But I always have to make sure that I'm being relevant, and I just don't want to, regurgitate a piece of content just because it's there. So obviously, in the spirit of asking people for help, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to this channel, or if you actually subscribe to our podcast and maybe share it with people, just so that our content goes far and wide, and it actually helps us create more and relate more to other people that we might not have had access to. Okay. And one other thing that I do a whole lot of is to just read. Okay. The more you read, the more you open up your mind to different ideas that may never have come your way. So just take a break from writing or talking or speaking and spend some time reading other people's blogs and articles or books. It might just be what you need to find some inspiration for your next project. All right. And at the end of the day, the reason why we find ourselves in writer's block is because we're not trying out new things often. Because if you constantly expand, the things that you do, and it will help you open up to different viewpoints and topics, because getting stuck doing the same things over and over again would actually leave you uninspired. And if you give yourself continuous exposure to new things, you perpetually meet new people, think things differently, and expand on your current knowledge. Now, as frustrating as writer's block is, remember, it won't last forever. Just get out of your head and get into your heart, or maybe go get out of your house and meet other people. Obviously, maintaining social distancing and everything else that comes along with it. Try not to be too hard on yourself, because that'll only make it worse. Instead, shake things up a little bit. Not only will you keep things interesting, but it will actually maybe spark a few new ideas, or you could actually change the course of your industry. Like we were talking about the Cookie Monster earlier on. All right, the internet has this insatiable diet for new content. All right, so it's not up to you to constantly be filling it up with stuff. Maybe you can revisit your content. Maybe you can let other people do it for you. You are not the only person that is educated enough for you to put content out there. All right, so help others by actually helping them. Maybe sometimes we can actually help ourselves in the process. I know it's one of the worst things that can happen to a writer or to a content creator, and it's crippling and frustrating, but there are so many other ways that you can alleviate this, so that you can create for and relate to your audience. I can't wait to read, learn, write, watch, and see your content out there. And whenever you have writer's block, just come back to this episode and make sure that you listen it through and don't overthink it. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au